For the first problem, it says here, Aiden is trying to reach a toy from the top shelf. If he has to stand 3 feet away from the shelf with an angle of elevation of 46 degrees, how tall is the shelf? So, the first step is to remember SOHCAHTOA. Basically, what it means sine, cosine, and tangent. And OH stands for opposite hypotenuse, AH stands for adjacent hypotenuse, and COA or OA stands for opposite adjacent. And when referring to opposite and adjacent, it's in relativity to the angle. So our opposite is going to be right across from our angle. This is our opposite. And our adjacent is here because it's not the hypotenuse. Anyway, the problem is stating this is wrong. I'm sorry. This has to be here. The problem asks how tall the shelf is. So this is our x. What we're looking for is the opposite angle, and what we are given is the adjacent angle. So we have to use tangent. So we can write this as tan 46 is equal to opposite, so x over adjacent 3. Then we gotta cross multiply this in order to eliminate the denominator. So when we cross multiply, we just multiply the denominator with a variable here, because this is basically tan 46 over 1, and when you cross multiply, x times 1 is just x, and then this turns into 3 tan 46 equals x. We take out our scientific calculator and we input what is written down here, 3 tan 46. This should give us a value of 3.106. So we can write this as 3.106 equals x. Now we can round this up to the nearest hundredth, so this then turns into 3.11 equals x. Now we can conclude that the shelf is 0.11 feet tall. Problem number 2 states that Lucas sees their friends on the balcony of a building that is 46 meters from the ground. They also see that to look to the top of the building, they have to look at an angle of 68 degrees. If Lucas is 43 meters from the building's ground floor, how far do Lucas's friends have to climb to get to the top of the building? It's the same concept, except there's a few more steps. So we gotta visualize it. They see their friends on a balcony. Let's just say this is the building and this is the balcony. That is 43 meters from the top. Oh no, that is 46 meters from the ground, sorry. To look towards the top of the building, they need to look at an angle of 68 degrees. If Lucas is 43 meters from the base of the building, how far do Lucas's friends have to climb to get to the top floor? This is relatively simple. We apply the same concepts. Again, we're looking for the opposite side, and we are given the adjacent angle. So this is again tangent. Tangent 68 is equal to x over 43. Then we cross multiply again. So 43, this is the same concept. 43 tan 68 equals x. Take out our scientific calculator again. 43 tan 68 equals to 106.4. However, we should round this up to the nearest whole number to make this easier. So this is going up to 107. Now that we've found the total height of the building, we need to figure out how far Lucas's friends have to climb to reach the top of the building. This is really simple. All we need to do is subtract the height that the friends are at with the total height of the building. Our building is 107 meters tall, and they are 46 meters from the ground. 107 minus 46 is 61. So Lucas' friends have to climb 61 meters to reach the top. Moving on to angle of depression. Let's visualize this while we read. Jaden needs to grab a pencil on the desk. if the pencil is 16 inches away from the table and he is 24 inches above the desk, what is the angle of depression from his shoulder? So if he is 24 inches above the desk and 16 from at the table, what is the angle of depression from his shoulder? This seems difficult, but it's relatively easy. Since it's tangent again, we're looking for the adjacent and the opposite angle. So this is tan of x equals opposite 24 over adjacent 16. This might seem tricky, but all we have to do is an inverse tangent, which is basically tangent power of -1, 24 over 16. Now to input that on your scientific calculators, you press the shift button, it says shift right there, and then you press your tan. This will give you tan to the power of -1, 24 over 16. This gives you the angle of depression, which is 56.3. So x equals 56.3. Let's move on to the last number. Let's say this is our good friend Red up here. Red is at the top of the hill. Or it's supposed to say mountain, I'm sorry. He sees his friends somewhere down the mountain. His friends mention to them that they are roughly two-fifths away from the top of the mountain. So let's say this is the top of the mountain. If he is 2,304 meters above sea level, and the angle of depression from the top of the mountain is 34 degrees, how far are his friends from the foot of the mountain? If this looks harder for some of you to process and understand, you can simply flip it. So this will be our base, and this will be the height, or this will be the top of the mountain instead, and this will be the height. So 2,304 and 34 degrees. Since this is congruent with this angle, we can now erase this. What we are looking for now isn't tangent. We're now looking for our hypotenuse. So how do we look for our hypotenuse? Well, remember SOHCAHTOA. We currently have our opposite value, and we're looking for our hypotenuse. So this means we have to use sine. Sine of 34 equals to opposite, so 2,304 over x. We then cross multiply. X sine 34 equals 2,304. Lastly, we divide both sides by sine 34 to isolate the variable. We then cross that out, and now we're left with x equals 2,304 over sine 34. We then take out our trusty scientific calculator and input our values. 2,304 over sine of 34. We get a value of x equals 4,120. Let's just round it up to the nearest whole number, so that's easier. Now we have our value for the slope of the mountain, 4,120. But his friends mentioned that they are 2/5 from the top. They are 2/5 from the top of the mountain. Keep that in mind, from the top of the mountain. Now how exactly do we get that? All we have to do is multiply it with the length of the slope. So we multiply that with 2,120. To do this without a calculator, it's relatively simple. All you need to do is multiply the whole number with the numerator. So 2 times 4,000, and then divide it by 5. 1,648. That's our answer for how far they are from the top. 1,648 meters. That's how far they are from the top. But our question is looking for how far they are from the bottom. This, again, is really simple. All we need to do is subtract the total height of the mountain, or the total length of the slope, to how far they are from the top. So 4,120 minus 1,648. And this gives us 2,472 meters, which means Red's friends are 2,472 meters from the bottom of the mountain.